So then you mentioned that there are all of these ways to find money in your budget and kind of stop wasting it. What are some of those things that you can do to find this extra money in your budget so that you can pay down your debt?
Okay, let's talk about that. First, remember the first thing is you're going to see where your money's going now. Only then can you see where you can save money. But let's talk about a few ideas. Like I said, I've got hundreds in my book, and there are certainly thousands on the web. More ideas though. Let's say that you really enjoy watching professional sports. Why would you go to a pro game when you can go to a high school game? You get the same. The outcome is less certain, which to me makes the game more interesting. I could park right up front, and the hot dogs are $1. So that's one example. Why would you go out to eat if you can go on a picnic? I mean, you tell me what you like to do with your life, and I'll tell you how you can save money at it. Here's another example that one of the first things I would ask you to do, almost 10% of all the money you have may be going to insurance. I would raise my deductibles on my insurance policies and save 10 to 20% on those. I have a $1,000 deductible on my car. I have a $1,000 deductible on my homeowners. I actually have a $5,000 deductible on my health insurance. So I keep my deductibles high. Why? It saves me a ton of money. And insurance is not to prevent financial inconvenience. It's to prevent financial catastrophe. So you can do that and still have high deductibles. Use the money you save to pay down your debt and then put it in a savings program. There are just so many things to do. Oh, generics, also another thing. I told you I'm a television news reporter. I've stood at Walgreens with a microphone and a camera and stopped people who were about to buy Excedrin when right next to it was Walcedrin, the generic version from Walgreens. And I've literally said to them, why are you buying Excedrin for $5 when right next to it is the same generic thing for $3? And they'll say, well, they'll either say one of two things. They'll say, it's more expensive, so it must be better, or it's what I've always bought. Now this is just stupid. It's just lunacy, because these aren't similar things. They're identical things, identical. And it's true of lots of other things. Granted, some generics aren't as good as name brands, so in those cases, buy the name brands. But for Pete's sake, if it's the same thing, why would you pay extra money for it? And that applies to lots of things besides patent medicines. Bleach, salt. I mean, your cabinet is full of stuff that's name brand when the identical thing for less money was sitting there. So always buy generics if you can. Here's another idea that's popular. Forming neighborhood co-ops. I have a lawnmower. My neighbor has a lawnmower. My neighbor on the other side has a lawnmower. We all have ladders. Some of us have chainsaws. We all go to the store and buy these things. Why are we doing that? If you're only using something every now and then, if you go in with your neighbor, it's half price. If you go with two neighbors, it's 1/3 the price. Buy one thing, share it among the people on your block. And that sort of thing, the co-op idea applies to lots of other things too. Let's see, buying used. I tried never to buy things new that I could buy used. I do that not only to save myself serious money, but also it saves the planet. I've never owned a new car. I'll never buy a new car. Why? It's not because I can't afford it. It's because it goes down in value the second I drive it off the lot. I drive an $80,000 Mercedes that I bought for 20 grand, 6 years old. Still looks great. Why would I have wasted $60,000 on buying it new? So there are just so many different things, big things, conceptual things, and then real small specific things. And like I said, hey, put in money saving tips in Google. See how many responses you get.
So then what would you say as people make, I mean, we've talked about this a little bit, but people really this time of year for the New Year's resolutions they want to pay down their debt and they want to waste less money. And you talked about looking at your spending and kind of seeing where you can cut back and looking to see where it's going. But once you start doing that and once you start down on this path, how can you stay on this path? What are some things that you can do as you're trying to fulfill these goals and trying to pay down this debt and trying to stop wasting this money? What can you do to stay motivated?
That's a really good question, Miranda, motivation. And it's not easy. I'm not an infomercial. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that this is simple. It's not. It involves changing the habits of a lifetime, and that's why motivation is so important. I'll tell you what I do. I've lived debt-free for a very long time. I actually do have a small mortgage on my house, but I live debt-free. And I didn't get here because I sold a bunch of books like Susie Orman or I was on Oprah. I got here the same way I expect other people to, one hard-fought paycheck at a time. And the way I did it was I visualized what my life would be like with no debt. Imagine for a moment that you have no payments of any kind, no car payment, no house payment, no credit card payment, and imagine that you would put that money in the bank or in the stock market or wherever you could invest it instead. What can happen is amazing. It's what's happened to me. I've saved over $1 million just by doing this. And I stayed motivated by keeping my eye on the prize. I now am in a position where I can do what I want to do instead of what I have to do. I don't have to work for anybody else. I can do anything I want. I was free to write this book, for example. I'm free to do TV news. And for me, that goal, freedom, was so important that it enabled me to stay focused for 15 years until I got to where I am today. And you can measure that in small steps. And as I said, being able to interact with other people, something you can do now much more easily because of the internet, will also help you stay focused. We have a blog at moneytalksnews.com where we ask people to come in and share their stories and their success. And it doesn't matter whether it's my site. I'm not trying to get extra traffic. I'm just saying there are people out there who have the same goals as you, and you can reach them through the internet. Do so. Stay motivated that way.